Hello. How's everyone feeling out there? It is a Venus night, and it is a little bit after, it's 10 after 12, so on the 14th of June. Hope everyone had a good Venus day, the 13th, and indulged in some self-care. And it might even feel like there's no choice but to relax because the solar flares have been going off, solar activity. I guess the most recent one was at a G4, and the strongest, most severe is a G5. So it's like solar flares coming off the sun, affecting Earth as well as Earth beings. So just like a drain in energy, which makes a lot of sense because we're going through this massive upgrade, whether we're aware of it or not, which requires a lot of downtime, like energetic downtime. And we want to honor our body and allow that restoration to take place. And we just had the full moon in Sagittarius a few days ago, and I made a video, but I had a different microphone, like headphones situation, and the audio is just super bad. I will link it to the end of this video just so that it wasn't done in vain. I mean, it's about 30-40 minutes of recording. So but yeah, the Sagittarius full moon, so that was when the moon was in Sag and the sun is in Gemini, both mutable signs. And we also have the north and south node in mutable signs, Pisces and Virgo. So there was this big mutable grand square happening in the sky, and the sun and moon are at 20 degrees and the nodes are at 23 degrees. So it's pretty tight square, and that could have played out in so many different ways, making us, putting us at a crossroads with the things that we want to do. Sagittarius is very adventurous, that wants to be on the go as a fire sign, but the ruler of Sagittarius is Jupiter. Jupiter is also the ruler of Pisces, and Jupiter just moved into Cancer, which is a water sign, and water signs as well as, well, Taurus, I would say Taurus, Pisces, and Cancer are the three signs that need a lot of rest. And Jupiter in Cancer was in a harmonious sextile aspect to Venus in Taurus, making it that much more pleasing to rest. We really had to honor our body, which is what Venus in the home sign of Taurus wants to do, is just honor the five senses, whether that is taste, touch, smell, sound, and rest. I feel like it's just, all the feels. So there could have been frustration not being able to pursue those things that we had on our list to do, but this is a time that we have to really listen to our body, and on top of that, Jupiter in a square to Neptune and in a square to Saturn. Neptune and Saturn are in Aries at the beginning degrees, and so that's a new energy to get used to. And Neptune is the modern ruler of Pisces. It's connected to Pisces, however you want to look at it. Neptune is the dissolver. It can dissolve your energies and just kind of put you in a dream state and makes you want to also rest. And in the sign of Aries, that can be very frustrating because there's a lack of direction with Neptune, a foggy kind of nebulous energy in a fire sign, and the fire sign that starts the zodiac off is that initial spark. And so having that is kind of like having a weak match with Neptune and Aries. It's like you want to light a fire, but there's this inability to create that spark. So we have to kind of trust the energies that this downtime, this rest, this time out is part of the plan. We're going to have this Saturn Jupiter square kind of going back and forth for a little while, and it's going to be the last Jupiter square for a while. The last Jupiter square was when Saturn was in Pisces and Jupiter was in Gemini. Now they're in, and those are mutable signs. Those are the signs that are able to kind of look at other options, can bring a lot of new options Sometimes it can be that feeling of getting in our own way because we can't make a decision, or there's like too many options, especially in the sign of Gemini, where it's almost like a merry-go-round, like you're just going back and forth between different ends of the spectrum. And Pisces, of course, is like very dreamy, very illusory, don't know what is real and what is facts. But now that Jupiter and Saturn are in cardinal signs, these are initiatory signs that want to take action. And Jupiter is like emotionally inspired to take action, and Saturn in Aries. Saturn in the sign of Aries is kind of like a paradox, a contradiction, or like a dichotomy where Saturn puts on the brakes, and wants to slow down and do things in very traditional, methodical ways, and Aries prefers to like just go for it and ask questions later. And so those energies kind of cancel each other out. So again, that's like another energy to get used to, because they're not in neither sign of Aries or Saturn, as the energy has a lot of comfortability. Like they're just getting used to one another, being in Saturn being in Aries, and Aries having Saturn in its sign. But yeah, Jupiter in Cancer is a new energy to get used to. And maybe we're already experiencing a lot more family time, a lot more focus and emphasis on our ancestry, or even learning about indigenous wisdoms and having more reverence to women, the earth, giving birth, babies, really appreciating and expanding those kind of themes, like expanding your consciousness is a big part of Jupiter in Cancer. Jupiter loves to be in Cancer. I see all of these planets as, bodies that like to travel through all of the signs, and some of the signs are more favored by certain planets than others. And so when Jupiter travels through Cancer, it's considered to be exalted. So Jupiter loves to be in the sign of Cancer. It's like, some people love to go to Portugal. That's like their favorite country, their favorite culture to experience. And it suits certain people, and, they love it. And some people like to go to Russia, and some people love to go to Japan, Everybody's different. Jupiter loves to be in Cancer. And in the sign of Cancer, and this is something that Dane Rudior kind of describes on his website, mindfire.ca, I think it is. There's a wealth of information on the concept of the glyphs, the symbols, how they, what they represent, and just the background and the mythology of everything. Astrology, Sabian symbols are also in there. But if I remember correctly, Dane Rudior explains how Jupiter is symbolic to the cornucopia through harvest or making things right. Justice is also connected to Jupiter. And in the sign of Cancer, we're able to really raise our consciousness through our family ties. This is another reason why Jupiter loves to be in Cancer. So growth, expansion, justice. And with Jupiter in Cancer, we can definitely begin to see for the next 12 months how the emphasis on family is going to really be strengthened. Nutrition, like biohacks, sentimentality, memories, a lot of memories coming back. It's already kind of been happening. Emotionality, like just having a lot of release, whether that's through crying or, just yesterday I actually had a really weird experience that was took me by surprise. Like I had a really good conversation with my neighbor who's, who has a daughter, a 30-year-old daughter who is in a tough position right now. And, the mom is having to make these tough decisions to not let her back in the house after taking her back too many times and not letting her really, tough it out and experience these life lessons on her own, instead of like saving her every time. She's got to, like experience this tough love. I mean, it's really what it boils down to, and it's such a reflection of, it's like a opposite reflection of how, some parents approach their children. They like want to be the tiger mom or whatever, like do everything for them so that they are able to raise them in a way that they wish they had been raised. And that kind of doesn't allow the kid to have their own life. I mean, sure, they're the offspring of the mom, but they're still a separate human being with their own preferences and likes and dislikes and destiny. There may be some overlap, there may be some some familiar interests and whatnot, but at the end of the day, they're completely different human beings. And after that conversation, I was proceeding to run my errands, but ended up having this like profusely bleeding nose that, that never happens to me. So that's like another form of release. And I looked it up, I asked ChatGPT what the spiritual significance of that was. And apparently there's like a spontaneous release where any kind of suppressed emotions or any kind of suppressed, unresolved issues can just drain from a nosebleed, and it's connected to the third eye and the pineal gland. So I'm glad that I was able to have that unblocked. But yeah, it was like, a huge gnarly blood clot. So sorry for the visual, but yeah, there's a lot of releasing going on. It can be very cathartic, and yeah, that's definitely how it felt. But also with Jupiter in Cancer, we can see a lot more focus on homeland and our pride, and families being reunited or torn apart. And right now Saturn is in a square to Jupiter in Cancer, and so Saturn can also be that authoritarian figure or that authoritarian entity that is preventing families from being together. Like we have all kinds of unpleasant orders that are being given right now that are senseless, of course. And yeah, right now there are strong feelings about that. There is an intensity happening in the air with this tight square between Saturn and Jupiter, and Saturn in Aries, Jupiter in Cancer. And at the same time, this weekend is the Mars in Leo, which is also representative of leaders and people in authority. It can also be military. Mars is also military, and in a square to Uranus in Taurus. And Uranus is the cosmic disruptor. It's the energy that dismantles things suddenly, like out of nowhere, like seemingly out of nowhere. And it is in the sign of Uranus. And Uranus is our stability, our foundation. It's Earth. And so with this Mars-Uranus square coming to exactitude over the weekend, I believe it's actually Sunday the 15th, when it is at 28 degrees and like 40 something minutes. So during this square, Mars and Leo, Uranus and Taurus at 28 degrees, with the moon freshly in Aquarius too, in another fixed sign, we really want to put ourselves in a space that we can be comfortable in. And if there's any hesitation or doubt about an area or plans that are formulating that you don't feel 100% about, then don't feel bad about canceling or staying back. Just keeping safe and not fueling any fires, because Mars is the energy of severing. It's the god of war. It could be weapons, fires, blades. And Uranus is unexpected events, like explosions, or could be like, just sudden shifts in timeline, or just like sudden movements, dismantling, collapses. in the Earth sign, of Taurus, it could be, like there is a possibility of it being Earth related, like earthquakes. And with the moon in Aquarius, like revolution is definitely in the air, with especially with Pluto at 3 degrees Aquarius, retrograde at the moment as well. And yeah, this will be in a square to Venus in Taurus, the moon, and Pluto will be in a square to Venus in Taurus. Just wanted to share that energy update so that we are prepared and we know not to exacerbate any of these already tense energies. So when in doubt, breathe it out. Just remember to feel into what you are able to feel and see and smell and touch. Just remember what date it is. It is June 14th, and we are on planet Earth. Remember your name. Remember your birthday. Just really ground yourself. That is the most important thing that you can do right now, is ground yourself, eat grounding foods, eat light grounding foods, quality grounding foods, as we do have the solstice coming up on the 20th of June, and before that there's going to be a lot of significant solar activity. So we will have the summer solstice on the 20th, which is when the sun is at its closest in the northern hemisphere. So the sun is going to be very intense, and we don't know if we're going to have any more of these solar flares. Solar activity has been very active, so we just want to make sure that we're staying hydrated and grounding ourselves and not pushing ourselves too much to do everything. We have to really keep our schedule light and take it easy, have some grace. We are not at the level that we might have been about 3 years ago, and we have to really honor that. We have to really honor how different the conditions are. We can't keep on trying to perform at the same rate as we used to, when everything around us is shifting and upgrading us, upgrading our body, and we're going through the changes as well. But yeah, Mars is going to move into Virgo on the 17th, and so between now and then, with Mars at the late degrees of Leo, the later degrees of any sign is where it's the most extreme expression of that sign. And so with Leo, energy can be very dramatic. This is where we want to just kind of keep a low profile and not fan the flames. So I think that's all I wanted to mention. Lean into boredom, lean into stillness, lean into not doing anything, reading a book, even just meditating. Look at the sky, listen to the birds, feel the grass, just being in complete stillness. And this is kind of I heard someone call it the eye of the storm that we're in right now, because when Uranus moves into Gemini in July, the pace is going to really pick up. And it's nothing to be scared of. It's something to actually be really excited about, but the excitement can be overwhelming. So we want to kind of preserve our energy and allow ourselves to just kind of settle in, lock in, and allow the universe to guide us, be in stillness to be able to receive those messages from the universe. So yeah, give it a try. If you've never done it before, then there's no harm in trying to sit still. There's no harm in doing nothing. Try to do nothing. Test yourself to see if how long you can do nothing for, and see what happens. See what happens when you do nothing. So that is the energy that is being called for right now. And yeah, don't feel guilty for these perceived, imaginary deadlines and overdue bills. It's going to surface it's going to be revealed how ridiculous we have been it's going to be revealed how ridiculous the programming that we have been subject to, how long it's been going on. I mean, really, this is like the Wizard of Oz, and the Yellow Brick Road is starting to come to an end, and that's a good thing. It's something to look forward to. So hopefully that made sense. Hopefully that was helpful. Thank you again so much for sticking around, and yes, stay grounded, stay centered, stay hydrated, and hit me up if you are curious about how these energies are affecting your chart. And until next time, see you on the next one.